Hello and welcome to the Thrive and Prosper podcast. I'm your host, Ari Page, and today I'm joined with the co-founder of Truka, Andrew Schlag. And our guest today is helping founders master not just their real estate business, but life. And today we're going to talk mindset and scaling and how real success starts when you stop hustling alone and start building together. Most investors just chase growth. Few learn how to grow with real purpose. So Andrew, thanks for coming on and joining us today. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to be with you.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into your mission and why you started Truka and how you're helping people become the best versions of themselves. So our audience at Fund and Grow is full of entrepreneurs trying to do just that through business. But how does building a successful real estate portfolio align with that deeper journey of personal growth?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, man. I think the biggest gap that we found when I started doing real estate investing was there's people who live with purpose, who I knew growing up. I'm a preacher's kid, was raised in the country. I knew people who really built with purpose. But then when I got into the business world, I learned people who built business, right? They knew how to build business, they knew how to make money. But marrying those two together, I felt like most people, at least in my world, fell on one side of the extreme or the other. It was either purpose or it was profit. Yeah. And so when we started Truka, it was saying, okay, wait a minute. How can we be the men, my business partner and I, my brother and I, be the men who build great profit, successful businesses, but with, for us, God-centered purpose, while also making sure we don't slack on the profit side. So I think that's been the greatest shift for us, is figuring out how to marry those two together, which I think is an ongoing journey, but that's what we speak to. So a lot of people come to us who are very purpose-driven, but struggling on the finances. A lot of people come to us who are very profitable, but struggling on the purpose side.
And it's interesting that seesaw balance that happens. But Andrew, you've done over 500 deals.
Yeah.
And many of our listeners are just starting out, looking for that first injection of capital. Can you take us back to the beginning? How did you fund your first few deals, and what would have gone differently if you had access to like 100,000 and 0% interest business credit back then? Because that's, of course, what we do.
Well, first off, I would have loved to know you back in 2014 when I started this business. I think, number one, if you have a good business plan, you have a good strategy, you know business, capital injection multiplies the speed at which you can grow. I'm a big believer in leverage of time, leverage of systems, and leverage of money. Even in your case, it's leveraging credit to get money, to get access to money to grow your business. So I think that's a beautiful thing. But backing up to 2014, I started this business. I was broke. I was 21. And when I started doing deals, I was like, hey, I should go make some money. I wholesaled a deal. I made $3,000. It was powerful. I didn't understand the things you teach about how to get your credit right and do all those things. So I just went and started buying houses on creative finance, and I was in a cash crunch. And so I'm like, hey, I should go buy more houses. So in 2015, I bought 50 houses in 52 weeks.
Wow.
And I was in a cash crunch. And I'm like, I should go buy more houses. And so I kept repeating this cycle, working really hard, became a millionaire, a multimillionaire on paper in a relatively short period of several months. But the challenge was I was constantly cash strapped. And then when I started to learn to manage better, when I started learning about options like you offer, of being able to get access to capital, I found myself, frankly, by then being burnout, hating the business. And so I'm doing the deal, I'm getting the next deal. Maybe if you're brand new, you're a wholesaler, you can relate, but you go do the deal, you get a check, you spend the check getting the next deal, you pay a few bills, you go get another deal. And so until we can step back, so something in the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that they talk about is most of the things that we do that are urgent are not important. And most of the things that we do that are important are not the urgent ones. They very rarely overlap. So most people get caught in either loop of important, not dealing with today, or urgent, not dealing with what's important in the future. And so when you start to marry that balance together, which is access to capital, right? Access to knowledge and access to understanding what life you want to build. That changed everything for me. So we'll go deeper on that, but that's kind of the foundation of being burned out, overwhelmed, getting sued multiple times. And I can go through the sad story of all the crap that happened, as most entrepreneurs have been through, but getting punched in the face I was a slow learner. It took me a few years until finally I said, wait a minute, there has to be a better way to do business, to get access to capital, to get deals, to be cash flush, and to build legacy wealth all at once while getting to serve, give back. Because what's important to me is being able to give back to my community, to church, to family, and to the people around me.
So strategy, and it seems that you're a master at creating strategy, and that's kind of like the basis of Truka. Let's talk about your strategy of the BOLO method, and your BOLO method, which for viewers as the BOFSLO, but this method is designed to create cash flow without headaches.
Yeah.
So could you explain what exactly that is?
Yeah. So starting out, I learned wholesaling, and then I started learning what I now have termed the BOLO method: buy on owner finance, sell on lease option. I knew a lot of people buying on owner finance, selling on owner finance. I knew people specializing in lease options. I knew people doing traditional rentals, the BRRRR method, the buy, rent, renovate, refinance, the whole list. I probably screwed that up, but
you got it.
I got all those strategies and started to understand them. But what really gave me the unique superpower to go do hundreds of these deals was to be able to acquire houses on owner financing. And I'll tell you, I learned this. I bought houses on owner financing. I bought a 66 unit mobile home park. I bought a 12 unit drug house I didn't know was a drug house at the time. And I was self-managing dozens of rentals, 66 unit mobile home park, and the 12 unit small multifamily project. And I'm driving around the first 2 weeks of every month chasing rents in my new F-150, thinking I'm doing well because I'm driving around collecting tons of rents, except after I paid the mortgages and filed evictions every month, I was not exactly real far ahead. And so it shifted, and I said, wait a minute, I need to just lease option everything, because the tenant will be responsible for maintenance, for repairs, and they eventually want to buy the home. So they treat the home like they're a homeowner. And so marrying the buy owner finance together, and yes, we still buy traditionally with cash at times too, but the majority of my business being buy owner finance, and then using things like Fund and Grow, using access to capital for down payments, closing costs, all those things, and then selling a lease option gave me as close to unlimited growth as humanly possible as a one-man band in the early stages, kind of out running around, and I call it collecting deeds.
How would you advise an investor to pair that type of funding with your creative financing techniques like the seller financing or subject to in order to create like a truly unbeatable offer?
I asked the question when I do a segment on this, and I'll teach the BOLO method, which is buy owner financing. Often in the Midwest markets where I love doing deals, we buy with nothing down. And in the little higher price markets or the medium price range, in Indiana, for example, where we buy a lot, medium price range is like just under 200,000. Well, I'm sitting in the studio in California right now. You can't buy a doghouse here for 200,000. So it depends on the area. We have people doing this all over the country, but let's just take the Midwest example. A lot of times we buy with nothing down. Sometimes we put 5 or 10 down the day we close. So let's just take a middle of the road and say we put an average of $5K down plus closing costs. If we buy a house for $180 with $5K down plus closing costs, you go find these deals, and then you have to make a couple months payments while it sits empty, and maybe you have to, clean it out for another $5K. You're in the thing for $12,000 or $15,000. Well, some of your listeners maybe are sitting on more than that. That's cool. But what if instead of doing that, you can use access, and this is what we do, to OPM, other people's money, whether that be private money, or in this case, my favorite, business lines of credit, especially if it's low or no interest, and put that $15K out to close the deal, to hold the deal, to carry any holding costs to clean it out. And then you put it up as a lease option, a rent to own your own beautiful home. That's what the ad says. And you put it up for a lease option, and the day a tenant moves in on average gives me around 10% non-refundable deposit. Let's say that house I'm lease optioning for $200,000 and somebody gives me $20K down. Well, 15 goes back on Fund and Grow on the cards, and $5K goes in HIP National Bank, and now you're cash flowing every month. Now, how many times can you do that before you run out of money? The answer is all of them, right? If you're putting out 5, 10, 15,000 and you're getting 20 back in a few days or a few weeks. So that is leverage. Now, you can't go put 50K down on a house and get 10K back very many times until you run out of money on your credit lines. But if you're putting out less than you're getting back in a few days or a few weeks, your scale becomes unlimited. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't have the credit to do it myself. I partnered with other people who did until I got my track record where I could then go start getting my lines of credit.
I love that. Let's further analyze that, because a big risk with the zero interest business credit cards is the clock. You have to pay it back before the high interest kicks in. So what systems and mindset does an investor need to have in place to really confidently use these credit cards to complete a project and refinance or sell before that deadline?
Awesome question. The biggest challenge, anytime fear comes on us, fear of debt, fear of, oh crap, what if that interest rate kicks in and I'm charged interest for that's crazy. Imagine what I would owe if I'm charged, 24% interest on $100K. That's 24 grand. And our mind starts doing all of this things. What it's saying is, I don't trust myself. Now, sometimes we have good reason. If you've never bought a house before, you don't have a track record to trust yourself to go out and find a good deal and know what a good deal is. That's where you do borrowed credibility, right? So you do borrowed trust. You say, wait a minute, if Ari's went out and done this, if Andrew's went out and done this, if somebody else has went out and done this, then perhaps I'll follow the method they did and get a similar result. But the biggest saving grace of all, because I made a lot of stupid mistakes in my early days as a real estate investor at 21 years old. One thing I always did is made sure I got equity. So I always got paid less for the house than it was worth, made sure that it will rent for more than my monthly payment is. And now it's tough to ever get over leveraged or behind the curve or go wrong. If every deal you do, you can get more every month than you have going out every month, and the tenant's responsible. Now, I have put 10, 15, 20K down on a house before thinking I was going to get 30K back, and I didn't quite get that much, except I still had an asset that I was making money on, even if I was making a little less than I thought I was going to. So it's making sure your deal will make good money with bad numbers.
Yeah, and following proven systems as well. You also teach in Truka the importance of automation. Like securing funding is just the first step. Where does an investor get the best return on investment when investing their new capital into systems? Is it in the marketing for motivated sellers, project management software, something else?
So the answer is it depends. If you're listening to this, you don't yet know how to underwrite a deal. Your best investment is in yourself. Go find out how to underwrite a good deal and know what's a good deal. If you know how to underwrite the deal, then probably investing in leads is the next move. If you know you can spend 10K on leads and have that 10K come back as 30, 50, 100, well, it's probably a good move to go put the 10K in. At the same time, though, if you are closing some leads, you can get all the leads you want for free on Facebook Marketplace, on Zillow, on online. Now, those are less quality. And I know somebody listening to this goes, but Andrew, I reached out to them. They said they wouldn't do owner financing. I get it. You got to ask the right questions to get to the right result. It's just like getting funding, right? You got to go to the right sources and you got to know the right questions to ask. And so hiring credibility is the game changer. But how do we run the systems? Once you get past that first 1, 2, 3 deals, once you start to build this out, it is all about leveraging time, money, and systems. How do we leverage systems? So we find a baseline baseline CRM. We have one. Other people have. It's a baseline CRM that tracks what deals are you working on buying, what deals are you working on selling, and in the simplest fashion, hopefully some sort of auto text follow-up system, because you can manually follow up on your cell phone like I did the first few years for your first 10, 15 deals. But man, once you get past your first 30 leads, believe me, by the time you're talking to the 30th seller, you'll forget what the first one said, and you'll be very glad you have a system that's following up for you based on what they told you. And you will always be a slave to your business until you systemize the business. And it took me 7 years of being a slave to my business, running in that cash crunch loop. Ah, crap, I wish I had access to capital. How do I get access to capital? Ah, crap, I got to buy more deals. And that loop, because I didn't know what I didn't know, until finally I said, enough's enough. I need to systemize. I need to get with the pros who can tell me what the heck I need to do with my credit to get access to capital. Because if you're sitting on a net worth of even just 5 or 6 figures, but especially 7 like I was, or multiple 7, but you don't got enough cash in that's my country talk coming through. You don't have enough cash in the accounts to cover payroll, life can become very stressful. And that's what I love about, Ari, what you do is you're able to educate. How do we get access to capital? So what I love about what Leo and I do is we get to educate and partner with people saying, hey, let's make this business serve you instead of you serving the business.
And so those types of systems, that's a huge benefit of, I think, why people should consider Truka, because without having that type of proven strategy, you're going to end up in a hole somewhere and feeling like this doesn't work. It just happens so often. So
I'll give you a perfect example. I was teaching an event not too long ago, and it was the simplest thing. And this is an example, and this is especially us, right? As men, I'll put myself in that category where I got to go figure out and reinvent the wheel sometimes on my own. So I'm given this instruction, and this gentleman comes back the next day, and the instruction specifically said, go. It was to beginner people, and it said, well, go on Facebook Marketplace. I said, message 10 people interested in buying your house, have a couple questions, what's the best number to reach you? Simple script. And all across the country, I've been doing this for years. Across the country, normally 5 to 7 of those 10 will message back a phone number, and then you start having conversations. And then I teach people how to go through, ask the owner finance questions. And commonly we close deals off of Facebook Marketplace. Crappiest leads, they're not the most quality, but we still get deals there often. And so to your point about systems, whether it is follow-up, you got leads in the pipeline, you got sellers who want to sell, you got buyers who want to buy, something. Now AI and machines and systems can be done so much more simple than they could even a decade ago. And so they come back the next day, and one of the gentlemen raises his hand. He goes, I did it. It didn't work. And I said, you sent the message I said and it didn't work? He said, yep, I did it. Didn't get one response. And I said, well, how many messages did you send? And before he could answer me, another lady piped up. She goes, hey, I sent 14, 9 responded, and I already had 2 conversations. I'm like, she knew how to follow instructions. So I come back to the gentleman and I said, how many did you send? He said 7. I said, well, number 1, that wasn't 10, so you didn't follow instructions. But let's go deeper. You should have got at least 3 to 4 responses. Did you send what I said? He goes, yeah. And I said, that was not a yes. What did you actually send them? He said, I said, I want to buy your house on payments. Would you consider this? I said, do you think that's what I said to send them? He said, no. I said, what did I say? And then he quoted back, interested in buying your house, have a couple questions. What's the best number to reach you? And I said, without putting your words in your mouth, can I ask you a question? And he says, yes. I said, you're trying to avoid the phone, aren't you? He said, yes. And so I share that because so many times that's what's happening with us. I want to avoid getting with Ari because I'm afraid I have to pay you for getting me business lines of credit. And I don't trust myself that I'm going to make more money on that money than it cost me. Because it doesn't matter what it costs me. It matters what it can make me. Except that there's a brand new Rolls Royce whipped out in front of the studio right now. And the guy says, hey, I got the deed. It's free and clear. Check it out. Call the dealer. It's a $500,000 car. $50,000 in the morning, you can have it. Well, you're going to sure wish you would have borrowed money when you didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
The seller calls back and goes, dude, I'm losing my house on tax sale Friday. I need you to close in 48 hours. You're going to sure as heck wish that you had the education and the partnership to make a phone call to somebody who's done it a few hundred times and say, dude, what the heck? What do I do now? And so it is systemizing everything and asking yourself, how can I position myself for success in today's current market? Because in my opinion, there's never been a better time to get access to capital and gather deeds and build an empire than there is in the transfer of wealth that we're seeing happen right now. With crypto going on, with the housing market where it is, with interest rates doing what they're doing, we are in a golden era. Sadly, there's going to be a whole bunch of people on the wrong side of that transfer of wealth who didn't get this knowledge. And there's going to be a whole bunch of people on the right side of wealth who got this knowledge. You took action. You surrounded yourself by the right people. You said, I'm going to borrow money before I need it. I'm going to learn how to find deals. I'm going to learn some high income skills that will help me grow my business. And I'm going to start implementing systems so that when the floodgates open, those systems will be ready to support those and help me build legacy wealth.
Exactly. And one of the things that popped out there was, especially with the guy with the 7 messages, it was his mindset. And just it almost seems like walking into it, feeling that it's not going to work, rather than following instructions, using the proven systems. And so many real estate gurus just focus only on the deal. But at Truka, you have a huge emphasis on mindset. So what would you say is the biggest mental block that stops entrepreneurs from successfully managing and scaling their businesses?
Number one, for brand new people, it's fear of the phone or fear of failure. For people who are experiencing success, it is trying to do it alone or fear of next level of success. Now, that may sound crazy, but I self-sabotaged myself. I lost over $3 million in 2019 and 2020 because I didn't realize it. I didn't have the mindset back then. And as I was leveling up, I kept hitting this brick wall. And, we live in a culture that wants to blame everything around us. Well, gosh, I'm just young and this person done me wrong and this one screwed me over and this one sued me and this partnership went. We can make excuses all day long, but there's a beautiful gift that we get to have in taking responsibility and leaning into our unique superpowers. And the moment I was able to say, wait a second, I'm self-sabotaging. How do I fix this? And so we have at Truka the 8 categories of life. And I'm a firm believer, how you do anything is how you do everything. When my brother and I teamed up about 5 years ago now, I was 45 pounds overweight. And I was good at closing deals and getting checks. And I'd done hundreds of deals, but I wasn't enjoying my life or the business, frankly. And I was overweight. I was having some health challenges again. I've just had all sorts of things going on. And he's like, bro, you got to get in the gym. And I'm like, I don't have time to go to the gym. And so we had this back and forth. And finally, he's like, bro, help me buy more houses. I'll help you get more fit. And so I'm like, deal. And I thought he was going to kill me. Takes me to the gym, starts having me jump rope. I'm like, how is this helping me do anything? Until 3 months later, I'd lost 45 pounds. And it was
pretty quickly.
Yes. And it was just the habit. And it was the fact that every time we would go to the dinner line at an event or we'd go to a restaurant and I would start to go to the old habits. And this is the biggest key, guys. If you're listening to this, you want to intently listen to this next segment. That is, it was the shift of small daily habits. I'd go to grab the bread. He's like, no, bro, we're not doing bread right now. I'm like, just a piece of bread. It's like not even that much. I go to grab the dessert because I'm a big dessert guy. I would love steak and dessert every night. And he's like, no, we're not doing desserts. Once a week, you can have dessert. And we just changed the habit. And this is where everything changes, guys. If we can change our relationship with ourselves and with God, we can change our relationship with money, because every one of you are a king's kid made in God's image. That's my belief. And the moment we can take ownership of that, oh my gosh, the whole world opens up to us, because now we start to live life. Well, gosh, I do want to travel more. I do want to give back more. I do want to, like we did a couple of years back, I do want to package 14,000 meals for kids against hunger. I do want to host the $55,000 charity event for kids with cancer. I do want to do these things, but we have to have fuel known as money to do that. And so now there's a purpose, there's a mission, and business is one of the segments. Yes, there's health and fitness. Yes, there's travel. Yes, there's time with people we love. Yes, there's a relationship with God. There's all these other segments, and business is no longer our entire life feeling like a merry-go-round we can't get off of, but it's now a segment of our life. And I get to show up on podcasts, hanging out with really cool people, or do events, or do deals with people I genuinely enjoy being around. You know, Ari, the last 3 years, I almost never, making sure I'm telling you the truth here. Yes, I almost never get a call anymore from somebody I don't want to talk to, because I have now designed my life. Now, in the beginning years, I didn't know that was an option. I had to take every call and every opportunity, because I might be my $5,000 check, my $5,000 deal to pay the bills next month. But if we can position our life where we're focused on the mission and the growth, everything gets so much more enjoyable, because we are building toward the mission with people that are like-minded every single day.
And that brings one of my favorite quotes. I don't know where it's from, but to the top of my mind, which is at the top of my my daily schedule, is the steps you take don't need to be big. They just need to take you in the right direction. It's not something that you're going to do.
Writer downer.
What's that?
I said, that's a writer downer.
Yeah. Because you're not going to get there overnight. Like the first time you stepped in the gym, you know, you weren't going to solve all your problems. It takes time to get there. And sometimes people get into business thinking that one deal is going to make them rich for life. And it's like, no, you need to habituate this process of enjoying what you do, of showing up with joy, with happiness, and infusing that into your team. That's a really important aspect of it.
I love that perspective, Ari, and I appreciate you sharing that. And for everybody listening and getting to have met you at this stage in the journey, like, I'm so grateful to have get to know you, and for everyone listening here to get to know you as soon as they have. And, you know, we can look back, and I said that starting out, you know, and if I could change things, of course, I would have got to know you many years sooner and got access to capital sooner and done all the things, except everything happens for a reason, and it always works out perfectly. And if we can view our life as that, a whole new world opens up to us, because now we get to take responsibility. You know, I remember losing the over $3 million in 2019, 2020. And it was, at the time, my perspective, and true, somebody stole from me. It was a horrible situation until somebody comes to me one day and says, you know, that was your fault. And I'm like, how was that my fault? Somebody stealing from me. That's not fair. That ain't right. I don't want to hear this crap. And he's like, you're the one who signed the docs without the attorney's final approval. And yes, maybe the dude pressured you, but you didn't have a gun to your head, did you? And I'm like,
accountability.
Got to take responsibility. And once I done that, now we can solve all the problems. Once we realize, like I said earlier, we are King's kid, made in God's image, for so much more than we're currently living. Now it's no longer about just us. It's about those around us and those we're called to help. And that's when everything becomes really a lot of fun as we build together.
And I'm a big believer in the concept of law of attraction. And in that ideology, you have to take radical responsibility for everything that happens in your life, not just what you do, but even what happens to you. And so it's so important to take responsibility for the different things that we think are happening to us. And then when you shift your perspective, you're like, wait, I was actually involved with that. It wasn't just to me. It was, I was a part of it too. And even in completely different scenarios where it really feels like something just came out of the blue, but where you had nothing to do with it, when you start taking responsibility for those things, you start getting the ability to respond to them. You take that word responsibility, cut it in half, switch it around. When you take responsibility, you get the ability to respond to things that you wouldn't have had the ability to respond to before. That's kind of popped out, especially when you lose $3 million. Most people in the car are thinking, damn, that would be everything. I don't know how I would be able to survive that or come out from that or be able to be inspiring after that or just move my life forward. For some people, that would totally be a showstopper.
Well, and thank you for saying that. But I think there's a mental tenacity that happens, but I can't take full credit. I give credit to the main one and to the people around me, because it was that time period. What I realized was when I finally got that perspective shift, how did that not happen to me / for me? I may have never shed some of the people that were in my life that weren't supposed to be there. And I may have never connected with, partnered with, and built what we're now building with the people I was called to build with. And man, when I started looking at it that way, because what you look at was Truka now and what Leo and I are building and have built, and it's barely the beginning because we have so much more in the vision that we are certain we're called to build. It makes somebody asked me recently, and it got me thinking. They said, would you be able to be the co-founder of Truka and serve the community like you do? How did all that not happen to you? And I'm like, certainly not serve the way I do, because there was something that happened when I sit in that bankruptcy attorney's office, reviewing my options, with going through my mind, like every loser who predicted my failure, everyone who's like, you're going to be bankrupt, you're going to fail, real estate's a scam, you can't do this, you're not, be careful, you shouldn't leave the construction, all this crap. And you're sitting there in that office and it's ringing in your mind going, I guess they were all right. Like, I guess I can't do, I guess I'm going to fail. I guess it's over. And you're sitting there looking at what appears to be your whole life crumble in front of you. And I could go in, we don't have time, but I could go into all the other segments that fell apart during that time. My whole life fell apart. Like, I'm talking relationships, friendships, family, team, business, money, like everything. It felt like my life was over. And looking back, without going too deep into it, when we're together sometime over a cup of coffee or a cigar or something, we'll go deeper. But I'm sitting there and these things are rolling through my mind, but it does something to cleanse you. And what I mean by that is I really believed that some of the people that were in my life for a season were supposed to be there for a lifetime. And so I was hanging on to that. And I'm thinking, I let all the people around me down. How could I? How do I do this? How do I fix that? And I am in fix mode. And I leave that bankruptcy attorney's office after reviewing my options saying, if I can just fight another day. At that period, Ari, I had to create just over $100,000 a month in revenue collected to not go bankrupt, just to survive the loss. And so every day I'm getting up, and you go 100,000 divided by 30 days equals about $3,000 a day. I'm like, where's my $3,000 a day? I got to get my 3,300. If I can get 30, got 3,600. I'm ahead for tomorrow. And that was the mindset I went into. And every day was a battle. Every day I dreaded the alarm clock going off. Every day I frankly hated that the sun was shining through my bedroom window and I had to get out of bed. But every day, if I could just move the needle forward, I could get to the other side of this. And one day there was a message revealed to me through a friend and mentor, and it said, one fire at a time.
Yeah.
I said, I just got to knock out one thing at a time. Thank God I survived, never filed bankruptcy, was able to survive the thing, was able to create enough to survive every month until one fire at a time. And over a period of time, the right people came into my life, and now you know who's got your back. Because when the money's rolling well, you have lots of friends. And when the money stops rolling well, you have real friends. And that's what I am so grateful for. And the season that you listening to this may be going through maybe for God to reveal to you who is supposed to be with you to grow you to the next level. And when you have that posse figured out, when you have that crew around you, you're ready to level up. Oh my gosh, the whole world can open up to you. And the people who rode with you through the rough times are the ones who are meant to be there in the good times.
And now you're helping so many people through Truka. It's really amazing. It just goes back to that old saying about creating a diamond. It takes a lot of pressure to create a diamond. But getting back to assets or protecting our assets and money.
Yeah.
So Fund and Grow, we obviously help people build their business credit profiles. So from your perspective, how important is it to separate your business and your personal for an investor who wants to build a true real estate empire, not just a side hustle, but to be able to maybe circumnavigate around some of these asset protection things that we're kind of talking about here?
Yeah. So that's another thing I learned through that season, big time. But I'm telling you, the greatest gift I could give you is do what you do best. To everyone listen to this, and hire others to do what they do best. Before meeting Ari, I remember going and trying to get my LLC set up. I remember going and applying for business credit. They turned me down, and I find out they didn't want a P.O. box as a home address. Ah, crap. Well, you could have told me that if I'd have been working with you. Yeah. You knew that times 10. I didn't. So here I am getting my credit dinged, getting turned downs for what? Because I had the P.O. box instead of a home address. So these little nuances that you'll spend months or years figuring out. Always close with real estate attorneys. Get your LLC set up and separate. I'm not an attorney, don't claim to be, but don't commingle your funds. Make sure that you are paying yourself. If you've not read the book Profit First, that's an incredible book. And making sure that your business, because your LLC alone is an asset. Shoot, if I was starting back over, I would have me an LLC set up. I would be working with Fund and Grow to build my business credit and get access over the next couple of years to multiple 6 or even 7 figures of credit lines, and partnering with other people who are actively doing deals, funding not only my own deals, but funding other people's deals. I didn't know all that was available back then. I was just trying to survive the next deal. And so it is vital. Now, can you absolutely go bang it out and do what I did and beat your head against a brick wall and do some wholesale deals and chase your tail? You can. You can absolutely go do deals and even figure it out and make some money, build some wealth. But why not take the path in front of you? Why not say, hey, I'm going to get access to capital before I need it, and I'm going to partner with other winners. Hey, I'm going to get access to the entity, hire others to do what they do best, and you do what you do best. Get the entity set up, get your business credit line started ASAP, get you a real estate attorney to close your deals for you. Set up that, what I call your power team. The sooner you can set that up, the sooner you can succeed at a new level. Because otherwise you're out doing deals and now you're behind the curve going, oh crap, I should have set this up. How do I do this? And you got to shut down the deal machine to go do what you should have done in the first place.
Yeah, I like to call that walking uphill with a broken leg. It's not a place you want to be in, especially not when you can work with different people that have already walked that journey and they already know the path. And it's like walking through a field of very, very tall grass for the first time ever. It could be impossible to get exactly to the other side if you can't see where you're going. But after you've walked it a few times, there's that path. That path takes you right from one side to the other. And so it's so underrated in terms of finding someone that has been there before, following it, and following their instructions. Don't do it 7 times the wrong way. Do it the right way. And that way, the first time you go after it, you're able to actually get results. Like with the P.O. box thing, that's a huge thing. Yeah. So like there's going to be things that real estate investors do when they first get involved in real estate investing, where immediately from 50,000 feet away, you're gonna be like, no, not that direction, this direction. Same with funding. And I find that to be very powerful because no matter how long I've been in business, I find every single day in the different industries that I'm not an expert in, that I need to go get help. And if we can't ask for help, there's something going on inside here and inside here. And that's really a mindset issue.
So true.
So, Andrew, for the Fund and Grow listeners who are inspired by this conversation and they want to take action today, what would you say is the most single important piece of advice that you can give them as they start their journey with both real estate and also funding?
Surround yourself by people who know your next step. If you already got funding, then go figure out how to find your next deal. Or if you've already done deals, go find your next portfolio. If you're brand new and you don't have funding yet, well, what are you waiting for? If you are doing deals actively, but you're doing it all the traditional way, you're maybe buying on the traditional cash, maybe hard money, other ways, you're funding maybe your rehabs. That's a really, in my opinion, risky way to do business, because if you only have one tool in your tool belt, you're on the brink of disaster.
Yeah.
So add tools. Say, hey, how do I do this Bofslow thing? How do I go gather deeds on owner financing? That's way over half. Most years, it's 2/3 to 3/4 of our business. How do I gather deeds on owner finance and turn around a lease option them out? If you want to keep fix and flipping, then go through that torture. God bless you. Keep doing it. If you want to go wholesale, but have multiple tools in your tool belt. Borrow before you need it. Buy more houses than you need. Be systematic in your approach. And like the needle mover above all that I would tell 21-year-old Andrew is find your tribe and stick with them. Find your tribe and grow with them, because the relationships can be for a lifetime. Money will come and go. Relationships will be for a lifetime.
Yes. And I can absolutely echo that. As us being in the same masterminds together, multiple different masterminds together, I can definitely say that relationships are really the, one of the most important things in any business that's doing a lot of revenue. You're going to have a lot of relationships. And if you have good relationships, then you'll have good revenue.
And I just want to say for everyone listening, Ari, in those masterminds, I have countless times over the last couple of years, especially, but in recent months, I keep hearing Ari Page is incredible. And I just want to shout you out for that, because being in the industry and playing at the level you play at, to have that many people saying good things about you is an incredible feat. So shout out to you for developing that reputation.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, Andrew, it's been a true pleasure having you on, and I super appreciate you taking the time to educate all of our viewers. And I've gotten a lot out of it personally. I hope all of our listeners got a lot out of it. And so if people want to learn more about Truka, where can they go to learn more?
You can follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Andrew Schlag, Instagram, probably most of the social media channels. And you can always go to Truka.com.
Awesome. And we will pop those links up. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to our viewers. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, brother.